Good morning, fish keepers. Cam here from the fishroom.co.nz. Hope we're all well and dandy. It is Friday. We've done it. And it is probably the first working week back for most of you. I absolutely feel your pain. So I don't know if we're celebrating with coffee or we're just getting through the end of the week with coffee. But either way, we're doing it. That's a good coffee. Hi, John. You waving? Are we bringing John up? Yeah? Yeah? We've got John today.
Yeah, how's it going?
How you doing?
I think, yeah, that's okay. I was hearing an echo on my end. Telling me you had YouTube open in the background.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Have a good Christmas, New Year's, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, nice little break. Good to be back. Kids back to school, so
Kids back to school. We're in the middle of like our summer holiday sort of thing. That kids don't go back to school for another 3 or 4 weeks or something stupid like that.
Oh,
yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Some of you will obviously remembered we have got a new time. We're kickstarting at 9 a.m. From now on. Helen is clearly remembered. Hello, Helen. How are you doing? So we're starting at 9, not 10 o'clock this year, mainly for when we have our guests on, just to give them a good amount of time to tell their story and to talk to us and get involved with that. I felt really bad that we were cutting everyone short by going by till 10 to 11 because they had to open the shop at 11. So we're going to give 9 till whenever we finish the go from now on. So, yeah, that's where we're at with that. Hey, Brian, how are you, buddy? Cool. So I've got a little bit of admin to do, not much. It's been pretty hectic down here this week. When I say pretty hectic, it's been absolutely intense trying to get all the fish orders and whatnot out. So I haven't actually had a lot of chance to prep too much here. But on the note of the fish orders, we've got a majority of them out. We ran out of polyboxes. Ran out of polyboxes on Wednesday. Got more yesterday. Ran out of polyboxes yesterday as well. So there's still a few orders that haven't been done. They've come in pretty thick and fast. So next week, the last of those fish orders will be going out. So if you were waiting for fish and you haven't got them yet, I'm sorry. It's been pretty intense. And like I said, I ran out of polyboxes. So they'll be going out next week. Many apologies. G'day, Gary. How you doing, buddy? Cool. On that note, just to do with shipping and stuff, I said late last year that we had changed our packaging for our plants. Didn't have any props, but finally for a change, I bought some props. So earlier this week, we showed that we were running everything pretty much packaging-wise as completely compostable, completely recyclable, eco-friendly type stuff. So our plants are now going in these bags. These aren't much fun to play with because they're a bit weird and tissuey, but they're completely compostable. You can compost them at home. So it's a happy time with that. Mm-hmm. And then these little bamboo containers as well, completely compostable, or you can throw them in your bin and they'll break down in the dump a lot faster than plastic, and they break down unlike plastic. So we're taking all the steps that we can to be as sustainable as we can, as eco-friendly as we can. I think it's fairly important because the fish and the plants that we deal with all come from natural waterways, and I think it's really important that we try and preserve that as a hobby and as a whole. So that's absolutely our goal and our mission this year is to, I don't want to say minimize waste, but try and be more conscious on how we're making our waste and what we can do with the stuff that we are using. So, yeah. Right. Couple more things. We're nearly through my list of things, so that's pretty good. Obviously, last year as well, we were talking about Daphnia. So I'm now trialing how long we can get away with holding Daphnia in glass jars for freight. I'll be doing the same thing with brine shrimp and vinegar eels and stuff like that. So again, I'm looking at, by the way, if you like spicy chili stuff, hit up Sam at Bonsai Banger. Absolutely gorgeous stuff. So yeah, I'm hoping to try and use glass jars. Again, they can be curbside recycled, or we can reuse them again. There's no issues there. So that's kind of where I'm swaying at the moment. Glass jars or glass bottles. Bottles are logical, tip them out. Jars are logical, they sit better and they carry better. So I'm not quite sure what we're going to go with. But at the moment, we're just trialing some times for that. So these went in today. I'm hoping as a minimum we can get 4 days out of the Daphnia, 3 days out of the brine shrimp, which will allow for shipping times. I think that's kind of fair. So we'll see how we go.
If you're putting them in the jar yourself, you must get longer than you do when you get the pre-packed live foods.
I would suspect so. Like, cool, I've got an order of Daphnia to go out this afternoon. Courier turns up at 4:30, so at 4:20, 10 minutes before it goes on the courier, sent overnight. 99% of stuff arrives overnight, so we should be okay. But I want to make sure that if it gets stuck, and if it's stuck for 2 or 3 days, they still turn up the vast majority alive. Going to lose some, that is what it is, but yeah. And that might possibly mean that it has to go with a little bit of green water as well, just to continue to feed them. I'm not sure. We'll work that out as it comes along. We'll put them in the polystyrene boxes to keep them cooler or warmer, depending on what time of the year it is. So we've got little small poly boxes that fit these jars, fit slightly bigger jars as well. So we've got that one ticked off. So, yeah. And again, my theory with the jars, I'm not sure how other people will feel, but like these can be reused if you want to as well. If you want to be putting fish food or something like that in smaller jars, they can still be used, although I'm a bit sketchy about putting glass around glass stuff. But, it's not just I've got a bottle of something and I have to throw it away. Jars can be used a little bit. So, yeah, that's where we're at with that, at least. So, yeah.
If they come into the shop and they hand them to you,
yeah, for sure.
Take up coffee.
That could work. Yep. So there's options there as well. So, even if you buy them in the shop and you come back the next week and you want some more, bring the jar back. 20% cheaper. You don't have to buy the jar. There's a few things we can work just to continue to not basically throw stuff out there. There's a few things rolling over in the mind when it comes to that. So, but that's where we're at the moment. We're just trialing the times that we can hold the Daphnia vinegar eels and that kind of stuff. I know vinegar eels can last forever, so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, the Daphnia and the brine shrimp are how long they can handle being in a jar or a container before they start going off. I'm assuming the ones over there that come in those little plastic bags, they will be packed before they're sent, obviously, and then they'll be shelf stable for a small period of time, surely.
Yeah, I think what the way they do it is the shops will get one delivery a week.
Yeah.
And it lasts till the end of the week. And obviously, you go into the shop the day before they're due a new delivery, half the stuff's going to be dead inside. But there's still some in it.
Yeah.
That's for that. Did they come in like long bags?
Yeah, that's what I've seen from overseas and things like that. So I did and ahh trying to work out how to do that. But again, it's just throwing more plastic, literal one-use plastic waste away. And it just didn't make sense to me. And then, like, going to glass jars, at least they can be returned. But, yeah, it's more about shelf stable. Because they keep them in the fridge over there, don't they?
Yeah, you've usually got a fridge on the counter, like a small fridge. They're that high.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's an option as well. Like, a small countertop fridge with a glass door on it, half a dozen items of Daphnia, brine shrimp, or whatever, done every 3 days. And, could work out that 2.5 days is the optimal shelf time in the fridge, 3 days, whatever it is. At the end of 3 days, I can feed the shop fish, not the end of the world, and then refill them again for the following 3 days. So, there's another possible system for in-house use as well. So, like, again, just try to minimize waste, try to minimize or try and maximize the amount of shelf time so people get a good quality product. So, that's where we're at with the live food for the people that have been following that journey. Pretty sure I've got the production of the Daphnia brine shrimp vinegar eels happy where they need to be. White worms are still very much up and down for me. Micro worms, generally speaking, are fine as well. Black worms have dudded out to nothing. So we'll try that again. But yeah, the vinegar eels, Daphnia and brine shrimp are going quite nicely, quite well. So, set up a third Daphnia tub this week. So we've got three Daphnias running. Obviously, it's just a starter culture on that one, so it'll take a few weeks for it to really be powering away. But that's where we're at. So hopefully we can supply quite nicely.
Yeah. I think the glass jars are a really good idea.
Yeah, I agree. I was umming and ahhing. Again, I like the idea of the bottle because you can just pour it straight in.
Mm-hmm.
But I filled up this a couple of times with water and poured it in, and it poured okay. It's not pouring fine.
Pop it. They will float. If the water, the jars will float.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah, there's an option.
But you don't acclimatize them, do you? Most people just pour it in a net and then scoop it straight in.
Yeah. Of course, like you might have multiple tanks you want to feed, get a syringe or a pipette or whatever, bang it in that way. There'll be no issues there. But yeah, the jars would optimize. You probably don't know what the Blue Planet tanks are, but they're quite a common tank around New Zealand. They've got a small little triangle gap you can just pour in with a bottle. It would have been a bit harder with the jar, but nothing but lifting a lid. It still works just fine. So, yeah. That's where we're at with that. So there's just a bit of a progress report for everybody. And I've got another way progress report. So we're talking about the beta tanks. We were doing the racks in the shop a little while ago. Again, I was saying how the gap is quite large. So this is the lid for the tank. So they're a 21-litre Aqua One Splish Flash tank. So they're a nice size for a single beta, which we're selling from. But I was concerned that the original filter basically sits from here to here. And I didn't like all that sizes going on from there. So I looked at using different filters. So I thought that the Aqua Clear range would be really good because you can modify them quite nicely, put extra biomedia in there, which is what I wanted to do as well. So the Aqua Clear 30, I think, is quite nice sized. Although obviously there's a few gaps there, but I think we can work around that by scaping them around that area or putting some plants out of it. The suppliers don't bring them anymore, so we're stuck with the Aqua Clear 20s, which again is pretty much too big of a gap. So unfortunately I don't have 8 Aqua Clear 30s hanging around, otherwise we would have done that straight away. However, I was playing around with a couple of hang-on back filters yesterday, and the Aquil, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. Aquil.
Yeah. That's quite a big brand over in Europe, isn't it?
Yeah, they are really popular. I've got quite a lot of stuff lying about somewhere. Yeah,
so the middle range hang-on back filter will fill that gap quite nicely. And it's adjustable as well. So I think there's too much power from the middle range hang-on back, but it can be turned down to reduce that flow, which is what we're trying to achieve for the beta. So I might have a work around with that, which I'm pretty happy with, but we'll see how we go. So that's all kind of just problem solving that a little bit. The tanks are all painted, stands are all there. I've begun building all the scapes up in my mind. Just haven't sorted out the lighting, just haven't sorted out the filtration. So we get in there with that. So hopefully in a couple of weeks' time, I'll have a solution. A couple of weeks' time, we can have some bitters in that rack, and we're away laughing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that come together because I've seen a couple of shops do that over here. They call them the Better Hotel. They're really cool. Everybody comes up with their own way of doing it, and it's really interesting to see the thought process behind each one. It's okay looking at it nice at the front, but looking behind and seeing the mechanics to that, it always blows my mind.
I wanted to originally I wanted to just have it all on a single bank running on a sump, but it just where I had to put it in that fish room just wasn't attainable to do it like that. So it had to be individual, and then I toyed around with sponge filters, but the room in there was quite quiet, and I wanted to keep it quite quiet and quite peaceful. It's nice to be browsing fish without the buzzing of the noise. So that went out of the way, as well as it takes up a bit more room in the tank as well. So we've got to hang on back, so we just have to find the right one basically. So
Sea can do a good size for small nano tanks. I don't know if you get them over here.
The supply are you talking about the titles? Right. Yeah, the supply discontinued them. I don't know why. I thought they were really good units, but they've decided to discontinue them. So be it. get asked for them for relatively often, but they just don't. They're just not here anymore. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And you'll get there, Cam. You'll find the right one.
Oh, absolutely. Like straight out the box, the Aquaclear 30s would be perfect, but the suppliers stopped bringing them in. They've only got the 20s, and they said they'd indent me some, but to bring in 8 filters just makes no sense. It's not really worth it. And then see if I can find something off the shelf. And again, like if they work really well, people will go, well, can I buy them? Well, no, you can't because we can't get them anymore. So kind of from a business point of view as well, like we're kind of showcasing products or items that work really well and pros and the cons of it.
I know.
I mean, I might not be able to sell these Aquils, but there's people in New Zealand that are. So cool. These are what they are. Go hit up old Jimmy down the road and they've got them. So people can still be happy. So, yeah.
Yeah. The main thing is to be able to get the betters on the go.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment they're in the shop tanks with the other fish. So far so good, no major issues. Hopefully it stays that way, but I'm very dubious that there might just be a particularly angry one, or whatever combination we put in just isn't going to quite work, although it should do, and that kind of stuff. Or buy.
You don't get the best out of them either. So when people are coming in to look at getting a better, and they're seeing one that's in with other fish, most of the time their fins are retracted, and you don't get that better appeal. When attack with other fish, not really. So
there's one of them that tends to be hiding out the back a little bit until food time, then he's right in there. But the other one seemed pretty comfortable with the combination of fish that they're in with, which has possibly been lucky, but it's been good. So, but yeah, I agree. Often it goes one or two ways. You'll see betters in shop tanks with other fish, and everything's amazing, or they're just tucked in the corner hiding, and they not really enjoying life. So, trying to avoid that, and trying to escape up some nice escapes for them, give them lots of enrichment. To make them comfortable and happy in their time when they're here with us.
Yeah, definitely. And then that way, they're going on healthy and happy.
Yeah. So, cool. Today's obviously Friday, and I have recorded my Frozen Food Friday video. Are you aware that we're doing that, John?
Yeah.
Did I tell you that? Oh, cool. So I did tell you about that.
I noticed them on YouTube, but I've not went around and watched them yet, but... Yeah, you and Cam.
Yeah. Cam came up with a great idea of cranking out a Frozen Food Friday series, so I jumped on board with that with him. So we've done the white mosquito larvae and the veggie deluxe veggie diet from Ocean Nutrition. Today we're looking at the black mosquito larvae from Ocean Nutrition as well. So I finished recording that. I will edit it once I'm done here, and it should be up and live this afternoon, all going to plan. I had someone send me a message after our video last week that the video quality was fairly average. Probably coincide because I was uploading the Frozen Food video at the same time, and the bandwidth didn't really enjoy that so much. So I've learned my lesson, and I'm not uploading a video today while we're going live. So it'll be this afternoon's job. So it'll be a good time. And if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you've probably seen that the frozen food freezer is pretty well stocked at the moment. We got an order coming yesterday. Everything's well loaded, plenty of brine shrimp, some tropical mix, some discus food, so a few things that we haven't had before as well, which is quite nice. A few more things for me to trial and error and play around with the videos as well. So it's fun. It's fun for me to try new things and feed new things, as well as people get an idea of what it's like, what it's made up of, how well it goes, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, black mosquito larvae is really good.
I'm not going to spoil the video and talk too much about it, but as far as a food goes, also very happy with it. I was actually having a conversation with someone yesterday about beef heart and feeding a beef heart, and I'm not a huge fan of it. And he's kind of pro it, and I'm kind of not so pro it. And my argument is, we try and replicate our aquariums as well as we can for our pH and our environments and wood and rock and all that kind of stuff for our fish. But then we're going to throw in a food that they're just no chance ever going to be eating in in the natural environment. So, why aren't we looking at insect larvae and that sort of stuff as a more logical option?
Yeah, a more natural approach.
Yeah, I'm on that side, and he was like, well, you look at fish food, and they're not going to sell as well. So I'm going to talk about this a bit later, but like the ingredients in this sea algae, at what point any freshwater fish going to be getting sea algae, and there's wheat flour and milk powder and stuff. So, like, he makes a good point that a lot of our fish food has not natural stuff in it as well. So, it's I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I do not think there is a perfect food to be feeding all the time, but yeah.
This one's got potato.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff when you start looking. Egg, milk, potatoes, like
the cereal that's in this. I know is put in there to create the texture and nothing else, just to give it body. But
there'll be reasons behind a lot of it. Whether it's just to bind it together, whether it's make texture, whether there's a vitamin in a particular thing they're putting in that they couldn't find sustainably. Like there's all sorts of reasons why they put different things in different foods. But it's just a valid point and a valid argument. That's a very, very valid point. Totally have to agree with you. There's not much research, and you can question some of the research, whether it's been done by the company that's manufactured it, trying to make their product look better. Who's paid for the people in the white coats, basically. And you're right, there's no customer pressure to change it.
The regulations for being able to label your fish for something like, insect meal, for example, it only needs to have something like I'm not exact in the numbers, but something like 7% of a particular ingredient, and that qualifies you to put on the label that it's made from that, to give the impression that it's made from lots of stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
I learned a lot of that kind of side of things when I was chatting to Fish Science guys quite a bit, obviously.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Yeah, went in a lot of detail about the labelling and the regulations, and it's very loose. Very loosely, it's not quite strict at all. So what's on the label isn't exactly what's really in it much as well,
That's interesting. I've found, at least with my customers, there's a push towards fish foods with more insect base. I don't know if that's because I'm personally pushing towards that more over the other stuff, or there's just a general movement towards that. Obviously, there's Fish Science, Sarah Insect, which I absolutely love, and there's the bug bites. They're the main ones that are here. So I don't know if it's because they're being pushed a bit harder, or people are doing a bit more research and are looking for something more naturally fed. I'm not sure. But there's still people that are happy to feed, your standard flake of some description. But there seems to be more people that are interested in that. And I am noticing a lot more people coming in asking about feeding live brine shrimp, live daphnia, and that sort of stuff as well. So again, I think that's a positive thing, and I think people will be being rewarded from their fish behaviour, their activity, their longevity, and their coloration, that kind of stuff when changing over to that sort of thing. But it's about making life easy for everybody as well. So as well as sustainable and healthy diets for your fish.
Yeah, I think as well there's a lot more information out there, and there's a lot of buzz around insect meal products.
Yes, definitely.
People are inclined to switch over to that for their pets, and I can see it going into the dog and cat industry as well. If I'm honest, it'll soon develop that you'll be getting insect meal dog food, because the protein pound for pound is far higher than it is for most other animals. I don't know, so it's really, really good, and it's better, like you said, it's more sustainable.
Yeah, I think as humans, if we could get over the fact we're eating insects, that'd be the way to go as well. I haven't tried insect flour or anything like that, but from what I've watched and what I've read, people can't really tell the difference over wheat flour and that kind of stuff. But it's just people's mindset, we're eating insects, that's gross. But,
the
the fish food one's a huge topic, and there's no real right or wrong answer. I suspect Rebecca might argue that there is a right and a wrong answer. But in my mind at the moment, there's very much a grey area, and there's no right or wrong answer at the moment. First and foremost is, do your fish eat it? That's number one priority. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you're a good fish keeper, you're watching, you're paying attention to what's giving you the colour, what's giving you the movement, what's not.
Yeah.
And usually that's an indication of, and the waste level as well. If your fish isn't digesting a lot and producing a higher waste content, then you know it's not the right kind of food for them. Whereas if you go to a natural based or an insect meal based, their stomachs and bodies are designed to digest that food much more than they are to digest like fish meal or beef heart.
And I think Rebecca's made a fantastic point right there, recognising what proteins for what fish are basically eating, where they come from, the algae. So I think that's an incredibly valid point. You're not just using use spinach, for example. You're not just using spinach to put colour in it and saying it's in there. There's actual proteins and vitamins that are required for said fish from the ingredients you're using. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I know for myself, for the short period that I went vegan, I had more energy. I was sleeping better. I felt better from all the extra vitamins and minerals that were being consumed, as opposed to the more carnivorous type intake, which felt a little bit different. So, I can only imagine it'll be very similar for fish. Yeah. Science's opinions, I totally agree again with that. Science is opinions, and in a broad way of saying it, science can change as well. Opinions can change. Something can be forgotten, although it's been peer researched. All of a sudden, there's a new discovery. Something changes, and then and that's how science works, and how things become known as fact that aren't fact, and that kind of stuff. So, I totally agree. And the fish keeping is such a broad spectrum with so many different variants of fish in like the tetra range that come from different parts of the world, and one lot of tetras might be able to eat a whole lot of blueberries, for example, because they fall into the water, but down the waterway there's no blueberries whatsoever falling in, and it's all something completely different, and it's just two different things.
Yeah, I mean, you've also got to consider as well, we often assume some fish are just vegetarian and the algae and moss off the bottom of rocks and wood and things, but they can guarantee within that algae there's tiny crustaceans or insects that they're consuming.
Yeah.
We're not seeking them, we probably are seeking them out, but we've got to mimic that as well. So if just giving them like seaweed sheets or just green pellets all the time because you think, they're vegetarian, they're going to miss out on a whole portion of their diet.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm going to butcher this word. Orphizich. I'm butchering it, so let's just not try anymore. It's a little microorganism stuff like that plecos, when they're rasping, they're picking up with. So.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. And that's why I question the use for the need of beef heart. I just think there's other options that are better than the beef heart, personally, that don't need to be thrown in for fish food. But there'll be plenty of discus breeders that disagree with me. Plenty. So, yeah.
I know. It's strange.
There it is. That's the word I was trying to say.
Headed plankton.
Yeah. So this live video wasn't meant to be a let's talk about food the whole time, but it's got there conveniently. I also wanted to talk about this while we were here today. I just cracked open another container of this, first time in a long time, and I've been very happy with it. Again, first and foremost, the fish are eating it. That's number one priority. Before I go any further, I'm not a huge fan of the ingredients list on this. So it's a catfish food. It's green, first ingredients, fish meal, which is always a bit, if you look at an algae-based tablet, I always thought that's a little bit weird. Next ingredient, however, is spirulina at 19% and then sea algae at 15%. So there's still a decent breakdown of greenery in there. Then we've got wheat flour, milk powder, brewer's yeast, wheat gluten, and wheat germ, and some other stuff that I don't really like the look of. But a stinging nettle, which is pretty good for shrimp and stuff like that. Paprika, parsley, general herbs, mussels, that kind of thing. So, a little bit iffy when it comes to the ingredients on this. However, what I am really, really liking about it, A, is the size of the tab. So if you've got some bigger pleco, that's a good size.
Good size.
It's a good size.
Yeah.
As always, Sarah have the clear lid, which is fun times. But what I'm really, really enjoying about it is just how easy it is to break up. Super easy to break up. Not only that, I'm going to try and do this without making a mess. It's really, really easy to crumble.
Right. How do they hold up in the water?
They hold just fine in the water.
Good.
Which is really interesting. So, like, it crumbles really well, it breaks really well, but it holds in the water quite nicely. 2 weeks now I've been feeding this. I'm yet to come in the morning and have any leftover anywhere. Might mean that I'm feeding the right amount. Might mean that the fish are going absolutely crazy on it. But I'm breaking them in half for when I've got more fish and breaking them in quarters for the ones with small fish. Plecos have been going crazy on it, and the corridoras have been going pretty well on it as well. And there was something else that's gone nuts. The guppies are going absolutely crazy on it as well. So obviously it's a catfish food, but it's working pretty well for everything else as well. So again, a bit iffy on the ingredients. First and foremost, the fish are taking it, but I do like how soft it is, how big the pellets are, and how well it's been taken. So, just something that I've been playing around with. So, yeah. Good morning, Shelley. How you doing? And what's the story with shrimp in New Zealand? Are we allowed to keep them? Short answer is no, we're not allowed any tropical shrimp in New Zealand. Slightly longer answer is that we can catch our own native shrimp and we can keep them in our aquariums. They are quite difficult to keep. You need to have a chiller for them. They get really hot really fast and that cooks them. But you can catch your own and keep your own basically native wild caught shrimp. If you do catch them, you can't return them back to the wild, and you're not allowed to sell them as well, but you are allowed to give them away. So there's a few options there. But yeah, if you're looking for those really bright reds, blues, yellows, that kind of stuff, no go here, unfortunately. And yep, you can grow out brine shrimp as well if you wanted to do that as well. It's unfortunate because there's clearly a market for shrimp. I personally don't think they would survive in our wild waterways, for the tropical ones. But the rules are the rules, and they are what they are. So we just deal with it.
That's a shame. Really are good fun.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of them. I can absolutely see the colour, the beauty, the enjoyment of them. But I've never really been that taken to them. That might be because the majority of my time I kept plecos and African cichlids and stuff like that, so not really a mix anyway. But now I've sort of got a little bit deeper into smaller nano fish and stuff like that. I can see how there's a valid point to go in there. Yeah. Magically delicious. Yeah. They would get eaten pretty quickly as well. I suspect we've got some pretty aggressive wild fish in our waterways. They wouldn't last very long at all. How many freshwater species? Not a lot. I think from the top of my head, the main ones is sort of 4 or 5. And then, like, you can look at the whitebait species. I think there's 4 or 5 different ones in there. I'm not super knowledgeable when it comes to that, the native side of it, but there's not a heck of a lot that we have. We've got some freshwater crayfish as well, which a lot of people keep. But yeah, it's not massive numbers of native fish that we have. We've got a lot of introduced fish, which have caused a few issues. Trout and stuff like that have done a bit of issues. There is bullhead catfish being let out in the wild. There's koi that have been let out in the wild that have caused a lot of issues. There's a few other fish. There's lots of mollies in the wild, which is pretty common around the place. But yeah, our native waterways, in general, in my mind, are our native animals are pretty average. They don't have a lot of defences because they've never needed defences. So none of them really sting, none of them really sharp, none of them really poisonous, they don't bite. It kind of goes with our fish as well. There's no really massively aggressive one, predator type one. They're very predatoristic, but predator for smaller ones. They're not the top of the food chain sort of stuff. So that's why whenever people decide to let their fish go, it basically makes havoc in a lot of the waterways, which is why the MPI rules are so strict, and why we can't have new stuff coming in, basically.
Do you guys have pike?
Not to my knowledge.
That's about the worst we've got over here in freshwater.
Yeah. Yeah, not to my knowledge. There might be, but I don't think so. I don't go game fishing or anything like that. I don't spend a lot of time in the rivers, but I don't think we have pike. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that's the way. If you do for some reason want to give that a go, you can apply from MPI. You can pay your fees. They can look into it, and there's a very, very high chance of them saying no. But if you want it badly enough, then you'll try and go through that. And if they say yes, then they become allowed on the list, and then everybody can bring them in, and then your $20,000 that you've just put up basically opens up the availability for the species. Any of the importers can bring them in, and then you're not going to make your money back if you're looking at a business commercial sense, but you'll be able to, if they say yes, bring them in. Yeah. Yep. Lamprey is another one. Forgot about them. Yeah, I have to agree with you. If they're already here and they're already, well established, Demasoni's a prime example. We can't bring them in anymore, but they're not going anywhere. They're resident in our hobby, but you can't bring them in. Celestial Pearl Danios are another one. There's clearly documented that they've been here for many years. They're dwindling away at the moment, but to my understanding, they can't be bought in or not being bought in. So I have to agree with you. That seems a bit weird, but I don't make the rules. I just follow them. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No pike, brown trout, rainbow trout, a couple of salmon, perch, and char are the main introduced ones. Yeah, and I know a lot of you watching from New Zealand, probably know a little bit more when it comes to the freshwater stuff, native and stuff like that. But most of those fish are pretty invasive, do a lot of damage, and cause a lot of issues. And you can kind of see why they're so strict on bringing new species. It just they've got past records of these fish or other fish doing damage. So yeah, it just is. Yeah.
We should start a collection for the freshwater shrimp.
Start a connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
And go fund.
It's the same with aquatic plants as well. Like, to my understanding, no plants get imported legally. Mm-hmm. There's a bit of a contentious issue going on at the moment, but no new plants are allowed to be imported legally.
I've got new plants. You get red root floaters.
No.
You ever seen them? Have you seen these? These are awesome looking things. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but look.
Neat.
Cool. Colour.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, how about them? Really happy with them.
Yeah, no, we don't. As far as floating plants go, Azolla, duckweed. What do we story to say about duckweed and Indian fern are the three main ones. There is a Rotala, or Ludwigia. I can't remember if it was Rotala or Ludwigia that is floating around. Excuse the pun. That can float ridiculously hard to get hold of. I had some years ago, and then just in my travels lost it. But that's about it. And then obviously people can float things like
moss,
mosses, that kind of stuff. But yeah, as far as floating plants go, we're sort of about 3 or 4. So yeah,
good.
Yeah. Cool. So I suppose we can quickly talk about the duckweed. Operation Duckweed has begun in the shop. I am in the process of eradicating all of the duckweed I possibly can and trying to minimize it into 1 or 2 tanks. We do sell duckweed, sells fairly well, so I have to keep it. You either love it or you hate it, basically. Sylvania is another floating plant that's here illegally, not illegally, but it's a pest and you're allowed to keep it. So you either love it or you hate it. There's not really a lot of fence sitting when it comes to duckweed. I am on the fence. I like its benefits. I don't like how easy it is to spread. So catch 22. I like the effects of dimming down the light. I think it's a brilliant option if you're trying to do a blackwater tank. I like the effect of how still it makes the surface of your tank. I don't like how easy it is to spread. On the fence with that, but you're trying to eradicate it all from everything in the shop sales tank and as much as we can from out the back to a couple of tanks out the back, obviously, because we sell from, and there's going to be a display tank, at least one display tank with duckweed in it as well. So that is beginning, and I'm transferring all the duckweed into Indian fern because I think Indian fern is amazing. Floating Indian fern, I think it is easily one of the coolest floating plants we get here in New Zealand. I love how big and deep the root structure goes. I love how it covers the top of the tank, and if you had enough, you just take it out, break a little piece off, and you're away laughing again. I love how it absorbs all the nutrients incredibly well. I'm a huge fan of Indian fern, so I'm slowly trying to transfer it out to that as well. So, Operation Duckweed has begun. I'll let you know how bad I'm being beaten by it next Friday because let's face it, it's not going to be a week-long process.
I'll be in your beard and everything, guaranteed.
Yeah. I found it in my coffee cup before. That's just There's a piece of duckweed in this jar as well. So
I mean, this is a brand new tank, and it's there already.
Yeah. How did that turn out? Yeah. So
I know.
Taking it out of the live food tubs, everything. So just want to keep it to 1 or 2 tanks. Problem I've got at the moment is it's in a lot of the guppy tanks. There's a lot of fry in there, and they're up at the surface with it. So I've kind of either got to move around or just go whatever, scoop it and just deal with it. So the operation remove the duckweed is happening.
Updates to come.
I will try. Yep, we will try. So, like I said, we sell a lot of it, so I have to keep it around. But yeah, not my favorite, but that's okay. Yeah. That's all that I've got on my wee list of things. Yeah. I will go slowly insane trying to get rid of it. I did see. I posted that video of the beavers and stuff eating the duckweed. I thought that was kind of cool and a little bit cute. But unfortunately, I don't think we can get beavers here.
Yeah.
I actually gave a stack of it away to someone to feed their turtles. So I've got a big pile of it outside that it's full of blanket algae or something. So we obviously weren't selling from that, but it's got my minnows in it, the tub outside. So it was protecting them quite nicely. Everything was good. I was like, I need to get rid of it and try and start this again without the algae. They came and said, I'm looking for something to feed my turtles. Like, I've got some full of algae that's good as gold. So yeah, she took half of a container, so it was nice. Yeah, chickens eat it. Goldfish eat it. I don't have goldfish or chickens. What was that, sorry?
Goldfish as well. I've just seen Helen put that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have goldfish and I don't have chickens or turtles. So
I seen somebody take it out, blend it, and use it for food.
Yeah. I did contemplate
vegan days.
Yeah, I have contemplated eating it myself and see what it tastes like. I did also contemplate trying to make up my own sort of fish food blend with some of that as well. Mm-hmm. I was concerned that if I did make up a fish food blend and it had duckweed in it, I'd just spread duckweed everywhere and all this hard work would just be going the drain straight away. It's just unkillable. It's been frozen for 6 months and it's been cooked at 400 degrees and it's been blended with a gazillion pieces. It just makes it stronger. Yeah, I like Azolla. I think Azola's gorgeous when it gets that really beautiful sort of crimson color on it. It's absolutely stunning, and I'll take Azolla over duckweed any day of the week. Feels easier to control as well. It spreads pretty much as easy, but it's easier to control. I'm a fan of Azolla. I definitely do like that. So, But Indian fern for me, the way that the roots fall down, that's just picturesque as far as
I've had one I had a while back was water lettuce, dwarf water lettuce.
Yeah.
The flowers on the way they bunch and curl up are really cool, and you get good roots. They can go wrong quite easily.
We get water lettuce here, but it's not the same one. It's the trade name is water lettuce. I don't think we get. I'm pretty sure we don't get the floating water lettuce here. It's another one of the illegal plants, to my knowledge. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. It is illegal. I suspect if it was legally available here, it'll be available at the wholesalers as well, which is not. Yeah, I thought that was the case. Water lettuce is invasive. Yeah. Water sprite Indian fern, I refer to them as the same thing. I always thought they were the same thing. Are you gonna? Can you clarify, Shelley, if water sprite and Indian fern are the same plant? I always thought they were.
I think you're right.
Yeah, just a different name for the same plant. I think it's. I've never grown it in substrate, but it's cool that it can be grown either substrate or waterborne as well. So yeah, same plant. I thought it was the same plant, just a different name. Yeah. So water sprite's a stem plant, and then Indian fern is different. So we've got same plant and we've got different plant. Ooh, we've got some researching to do.
Ooh.
Water sprite. Indian fern. I know Indian fern can be grown in substrate and like a stem. I always thought they were the same. But you've given me something to do this afternoon. Have we look at the differences? I also last week forgot to celebrate a wee win. We had our 200th review on Google the other week. So I was pretty stoked with that. So we've got just over 200 reviews now at an average of 4.8. So that's pretty exciting. I really appreciate it. So thank you everybody who has left us a review. It's fantastic. The good, the bad, and the ugly, they all apply. Good ones always make you feel good. Bad ones make you feel bad, but they always give you something to work on. So I appreciate them all the same. The bad ones that are constructive are even more fantastic. So yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. Brian says they look alike, but they grow out of water. They show different. Cool. Can you describe how the differences between them?
I've just sent over a link. That maybe help.
All right, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you everybody who has left us a review. If you haven't yet and you'd like to leave us one, I'd really appreciate that as well. Again, just be honest with it. If you love what we do, that's fantastic. If you don't, let us know as well, and we'll see how we can do better. So thank you very much. Yeah, same on Facebook. If you're on the old Book of Faces and you want to leave us a review, that's cool. We're creeping up towards 200 reviews on Facebook at about the same 4.8, 4.9, 4.7, something around that mark as well. So that's happy days. Thank you very much. Cool. I haven't gotten too much further as far as new guests coming up for this year with our coffee dates. It's on my agenda for next week to begin. I've spoken to a couple of people who said they'll be interested to come on. So I'll begin that process of basically trying to book them in. I thought we'd leave everybody through December and the start of January because it's a pretty crazy time. So now we're halfway through the month. I think it's about time. So I think there's 3 people at the moment who said they would be interested in coming on. We just have to confirm when we're going to do it. And then there's a couple of people that people have suggested us to ask the question of, which we'll do as well. So yeah, that's with that. So we're going to continue to roll with every 2 weeks. So 1 week we'll have a guest, the next week will be me or me and John, and then we'll go rotating through as well, just like that as well.
Yes.
So same as last year. The weeks we don't have a guest will be the weeks that we release podcast, which is a recording from a guest that we had normally about 3 months earlier. At the moment, it's just me editing it, not doing a lot to the editing, just a little bit of tweaking on the audio and introduction. If you want to have it, or people that are listening to it think it can be improved and want it like properly professionally edited, that's something we can look into. Or if you are listening to it on Spotify and you're just happy to listen to it raw, how it is, I've got no issues with that as well. So for the people that do listen to the podcast, it's under the Aquarium Frenzy on Spotify. If you want to see it improved a little bit, I'm more than happy to do so. If not, then we can go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes called water sprite is water wisteria. That's okay, yeah. So we sell wisteria in the immersed form, which looks completely different when it's submersed. So Brian is basically saying that do you want to hold the fort for about 30 seconds and I'll go cut a piece and we can have a wee look at it?
Yeah.
Cool, all right. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
So, yeah, it's always interesting when we get plants that are very similar, especially within the trade, because it's quite often that shops take for granted that what they've been told is the name, and then they sell it as that, and it goes on into the hobby as that, but it can quite often be a different plant altogether. So it's really interesting when we come up against like species like this, and we get together and do a little bit of digging and find out what the real names are. It's really cool. So yeah, Brian, you've raised a good point there. It's just a slight different in the common name that can make it confusing, but yeah, we'll see what Cam's got. We'll have a look.
I should have got some Indian film while I was up. Give me 30 more seconds.
So be interested to know if anyone else has got this in their fish tank already. Maybe share some pictures on the shop page. Yeah, party. Yeah, we've got an empty. What will we do? We'll be back really soon though, so I don't really know. My office is boring. You can look at my fish tank before it sunsets. I've got 1 diamond tetra in there just now, and it's going to get filled with pea poppers, and the diamond tetra's coming out once it's cycled. Yeah, free giveaway. Absolutely. We'll give away one of those boxes on the shelf. Definitely, Shelley. Yeah. No, I don't really know what else to talk about. But here we go.
All right. So I've got some samples.
Mm-hmm.
So this is water wisteria grown immersed. Looks completely different when it's grown submersed. I don't have any of that to show off. And it takes ages for it to swap over. Actually looks a little bit like basil or mint in this form. But so this is what I know as water wisteria. Having a blank. That's the trade name for it. Without opening up my files, I couldn't tell you what the Latin name is off the top of my head. This is a small piece of Indian fern that's been floating. That's how it starts with. This is what I've always known as Indian fern and water sprite. This might be where the confusing thing for water sprite comes. So this can be grown in substrate and it can be grown floating, but it can't be grown immersed. Hello, all the new people that have joined us. Maxie, George, how are we doing? And this is a big Indian fern. Covered in duckweed. Operation Duckweed's not going so well in this tank. So this has been grown completely floating. And as you can may or may not be able to see, it gets a little bit of a fern type node to it. Because obviously it floats on top and then it gets that sort of fern structure to it when it grows out of water. It's not growing immersed, but this comes out of water, if that makes sense. To my understanding, there is... It's a little bit weird. Anyway, to my understanding, there is 2 different types of floating Indian fern. There is a broadleaf one, which this one is. It's quite broad. So the broadleaf and a fine leaf one. I am not completely convinced that the broadleaf to the fine leaf isn't different growing conditions as opposed to a totally different plant, if that makes sense. But so that's what I've got as wisteria, Indian fern, the differences to my knowledge. No Latin names, no science here, just that.
And that's African fern, just to mix things up.
So that's Bulbitis, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, which is completely different and an awesome plant, really hard to get hold of in New Zealand.
Really? I've had that has been growing in one of my tanks at some point for the last 3 or 4 years, probably even longer.
It's here, and there's plenty of people with it. It's not commercially available.
Is it banned?
No. It's all legitimately here. It's just not being commercially grown. Some people grow it like it's going out of style. Massive clumps for other people like myself. It just goes all weedy and gross, and I can't do much with it. So I think a lot of it is to do with water hardness and stuff like that. If you've got the right water hardness, you're good to go. If you don't, you're in a bit of trouble.
So I've still got this as well. This is the one that I was going to send over to you. The crinum.
Yeah.
If I recall it. It's like huge. Massive.
So that's where we're at with that. We can post cam standing your writing. Yeah, I've seen and heard of that. People have massive tanks full of it.
Mm-hmm.
And other people just can't grow it. I totally got sidetracked on that yesterday. I'm sorry. I will make sure that you get an update of that this afternoon, or pretty much as soon as I get off this. It didn't cross my mind until I got home last night, and I reread your message that I was meant to do something with it. I'm sorry, I just got too busy yesterday. Yeah. Good morning, Cameron. How are you doing? Oops. Fingers off. I won't touch it. You can touch it.
I wasn't going to do anything.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I pushed the button twice. Cool. Yeah, so that's where we're at with the floating plants. It's been quite a riveting conversation on that. It's cool that we have some more people on. Some people we haven't seen for a little while, and some people we haven't seen before as well. So it's a good time. Yeah. So, what else do we want to talk about while we're here?
What are you doing this weekend?
If the weather holds out, I'm playing cricket.
Nice.
If the weather doesn't hold out, I'm not playing cricket.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that goes. Just looking directly out the window, it's completely overcast and grey, so we might be okay, we might not be. Why does your ambulette always die? Probably because you're keeping them with African cichlids, and African cichlids love to eat it. That's my first guess. My second guess is that you're not trimming it enough, and it's not getting the light nutrients that it needs at the bottom. My third guess is you may or may not be giving it enough fertilizer as well. That's another thing. Not that it needs a lot because it absorbs pretty heavily, but yeah. Have you tried trimming it very often? That'll be my first thought, is not getting trimmed enough, and it's not getting enough light and enough energy to the bottom. That's often an issue with stem plants. So that'll be my first thought. Are you what room renovating? Your fish room or something else?
You talking to me?
No, I was talking to Maxie.
Oh, sorry.
She's ready. Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Bedroom. Well, if you're wanting to get into killifish, I think you've come at the right time, because we have the killifish queen in the chat at the moment. So any questions that you want to ask about killies, I'm sure Maxie will help with that. She's very knowledgeable. Her and her partner Aaron play around in that world quite a bit. So now is a really good time to be asking questions about them.
It's a fish I've never kept.
Yeah, fair. It's not one I've personally kept either.
Yeah. Some of them are absolutely gorgeous fish, but that's just what. In fact, I think Finatics is about as close as I've got to a killifish.
Yeah, I think they're gorgeous. They're not a fish for me, but they are gorgeous. I've got a really funny story about gold panchaks. I had some. When was this? I can't remember. It was between shops or before I had a shop. I can't quite remember, but I had a few gold panchaks in with some royal whiptails. And these royal whiptails are a good size. They weren't massive, but they were definitely past the fried juvie stage sort of thing. And I was like, okay, cool. They'll be fine with the gold panchaks, no dramas. I came out in the morning, and one of these gold panchaks had eaten the royal whiptail. I can't quite remember which way it was, but they were both dead. The royal whiptail was hanging out both ends of the panchaks.
Wow. Both ends?
It didn't stop. Yeah, it was like, nah, you're in my mouth. I ain't giving up on you. Oh. I couldn't believe it actually got in its mouth, but then the determination to eat it, despite the fact it was clearly killing it, didn't care. Yeah, they are absolutely.
You get that hunger, don't you?
Yeah, they are all mouthfeel, 100% right. It blew me away. Okay, cool. So that's not a fish that I think I ever want to keep. So,
it's like a gopher cat. Tiny.
Yeah, gorgeous, and there's some stunning colours on them. I can absolutely see the beauty in them. They're just not a fish that I am overly interested in personally keeping myself. Yeah, gold panchaks do look like mini arapaima. I totally agree with you, and that was when I first was like, oh, that's cool. And then, like I said, woke up in the morning and there was two dead fish, one inside each other. I was like, not for me. Mm-hmm. Much like the African butterfly fish look like mini arowana as well, with their hinge type jaws floating around at the top. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you get half beaks that look like little miniature gar.
Yeah, they do too. Clown panchaks, are they just commonly referred to as clown killies, the black and the white and the reds on them? Because I think they're quite cool.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, gold panchaks, they do get quite large. Again, there's some beautiful colours in them. But yeah. We've got to bring that up. Oops, wrong button. There we go. I didn't know that. That is really cool. So it's like the three-eyed fish from Springfield.
Blinky.
That's really cool. Is it all the panchac species or just particular ones that have that? Yeah, that's awesome. I never knew that. Cool. I love learning.
Listen, Cam, I'm going to have to go.
Okay, Matt. That's all good.
I'll catch up with you in a little bit then, right?
Yep, sweet as.
Have a good weekend, everybody. I'll speak to you. Right. Cheers.
Cool, bye. And John's gone. Cool. And I have to agree, Cam. The butterflies are pretty intense jumpers, and they manage to get out of really, really small gaps as well. Gaps you think, how on earth did you get through that? And saying that, there's a few fish that I've kept that have gone, how on earth did you get through that gap? So, cool. Well, that's changed a little bit of the dynamic. I think John here now, so I'm back to talking to myself. Why are you riding a bike? Is your old 1980s van getting serviced because it can't handle carrying glass at the moment, or what's going on there, buddy? I unfortunately didn't get my hands on any of those bidders. I was a little bit too late to the party with them, so unfortunately I did miss out on them. But I have seen that you're having a bit of success. Was it them that you've had a bit of success with breeding, Maxie? Which is pretty good times. Sorry. So yeah, what else we got to say? A little bit awkward now. Never been a massive fan of just sitting here talking to myself against a screen. I very much enjoy it more often when I've got someone to talk to. John and everyone's sort of chatting away in the chat, and we can bring it up and down. It just seems a little bit weird, sort of sitting here talking to myself, despite the fact I'm talking to people in the chat. So, yeah. If any of you want to come on and have a chat, I'm looking at you, Cam and Maxie. You're more than welcome to let me know, and I can probably send you a link and you can get into it. Otherwise, that's fine. On that note, Maxie, I need to send you a message this afternoon. Please message me so I don't forget. What's my dream fish we can't get in New Zealand? Snake necks are right up there. I think they're really cool. They have some gorgeous colours on them. That'd be right up there. I think they're really cool. The Tanganic and rainbow fish, they'd be right up there as well. There's probably some plecos that we can't get that I'd be pretty keen on. Nothing that I can sort of think of off the top of my head, but yeah, definitely a few that I'd be keen on. Yeah, I know snake necks are kind of illegal everywhere, but I think they're gorgeous. Even some of the dwarf ones I think are really cool. Smaller ones, they just have some stunning coloration to them. I know they're aggressive. I know they'll eat everything. I just think they're really, really cool. I watched a video on YouTube, believe it or not, maybe 6 months ago, about some sort of native tanks that you can set up particular species around the world, and they had different varying size aquariums for different fish. And they were putting a couple of them. They're just stunning. They're really, really nice looking fish. I know the massive downfalls, but I think they're really, really cool. Generally speaking, they are would not be my cup of tea, but I just think they're absolutely amazing. So, yeah, snake necks are definitely up there for me. So, yeah. I guess we can then ask the question to the people watching: what fish could we get what fish would you like that we can't get? If we could get it, you know what I mean. What's the rarest fish in New Zealand that you are dying to get? It's a good question. I don't really feel the need to get sort of rare fish. I am currently eyeing up a group of pleco over, believe it or not, in Animates. If I get a chance today, I'm going to buy them on my way home. There's nothing really off the top of my head that I can think of that I go, man, I really need that fish. at current, I've probably got some of the fish that I want sitting out the back. Galaxy Explorer, Celestial Pearl, Danios, that'd obviously be up there, but I've got skunk quarries, which I really, really love. I think they're massively cool and massively underrated, so I've already got a group of them tucked down the back, which I'm really happy with. There's nothing really, as far as rare fish go, that I would really say that I really, really want at the moment, if that makes sense. Things pop on and off the supply list and go, I wouldn't mind them, wouldn't mind getting my hands on them, but I'm not sure. Oh, nice. Cool. X-ray breeding. Good times. That's awesome. Electrical gobies, they're pretty cool too. Where have we gone to? Yep. Totally agree. There are some very nice snake heads on YouTube, and some of them are so invasive. 100% agree with you there. Send you a link. Hold on, buddy. Let's do that. 2 seconds, and I'll send Cat a link. And where else were we? Totally agree. As a really, really good example, pea puffers are pretty common here. They're relatively cheap. They're only about $20 a pop, sort of thing. Whereas over in Australia, you're looking at $200, $300, $400 a single fish. So depends on where you are, to what you've got, and what you can get, and your rules and regulations. Yep, and that's fair. The zebras are easy enough to get hold of. But in the wild, they're pretty much difficult or shouldn't be around, or shouldn't be able to be caught. It's easy enough to put them in that category as well. Hello, Cooler Cam.
Hey.
How you doing?
How are you?
It's nice. That's good. It's nice to have someone to talk to.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we can find something to talk about.
Down to maybe fish. Yeah, I think, Brian, you're right. There are some very nice
It's like a good place to start.
So while you're on the bike,
on my left there is. Oh, yeah.
You're breaking up.
That's my bike there. I changed it to the bin because there's nowhere else to chain it. I don't know, man. It's not my problem. I'm not like the internet man. But that's my bike there, and I have to change it to the bin because there's nowhere else to chain it. And I'm trying to get some more exercise.
You know what, mate? That reminds me very much of the movie Friday. And the bike sitting out front.
I don't know that movie.
What?
I don't know that movie, so I don't get the joke. Hey, man, I'm not as old as you.
I take a little bit of offense to
I'll
that.
Google it.
I know you're not old with me, but how do you not know Friday and next Friday and the Friday after next? It's one of the more iconic movie series of all time. Oh my god!
From 1995. That's for longer than I was alive.
All right, stop making me feel old. You guys been busy this week?
Oh, it's got your boy Ice Cube.
Ice Cube.
Yeah, not so. Been average in retail, but been very busy like with clients and stuff. So that's good.
Yeah, nice.
But retail's been relatively busy enough.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Clark
How about
knows
you?
what's up. I'm just telling you that Clark knows what's up. Friday is so good. Yeah, I've been pretty.
I don't know this movie. I don't get any of your jokes. He's old enough to know.
Are you do you have plans for Friday night? Because Friday night's a good night to watch Friday.
What even is today Friday? I don't know.
Today
I've
is
probably got
Friday,
something
mate.
on. I have no idea what's going on with my life, man.
Sort it out.
Put your bike. I don't have a back room, Shelley, so there's nowhere for me to put it, unfortunately. It is, but that's as much as we can do. The only ballot, but that's very little. So unfortunately, that's where we are.
I like the fact that you've jumped on that everybody knows who you are because you talk a lot of smack in other Facebook groups as well.
I do. It's a good time. I just like, I think people don't get it. It's like, a lot of what I say on the Facebook groups is not serious. Like, I'm going to let people in on a secret. I don't really care about ornaments. Just people like them, and people are very toxic about it. So I just try to be nice about it. But, like, you know, it's not that, like, most of what I say is not that serious.
Don't you lie? You love ornaments.
Well, I mean, I do, but, like, I don't massively care that much.
I think you've actually got a couple photos of ornaments on your bedside table. When you go to bed at night, you give them a kiss, tell them that you love them, and then you close your eyes looking at them.
Bro, I don't even have a bedside table. This is the new. I got these new plants. They're quite cool. Some of these are actually pretty cool. Like this one looks so real. Like it's probably hard to see, but this Val looks exactly like real Val. There's something in it. What else we got? Oh, we got a Hobbit house. How cool is that?
Not cool. Not cool. I'm just going to put my line in the sand.
That's all I care about.
I'm going to put my line in the sand when it comes to ornaments and fake plants. They are not for me, but if you want them in your aquarium and you're happy with them in your aquarium and it makes your aquarium at home a happy place that you enjoy, then so be it. Go for it. You have derailed this whole. Those things.
Because I can't put real plants in here because I just ate it. Yeah, and they're fake. So
those rock structures are really, really cool. I'm a big fan of those rock structures.
Yeah, I got heaps of them. Oh, not heaps. I got like 5. Are you gonna get some?
Possibly. I'm a little bit worried about the freight
down to the
South Island.
The problem is they're heavy as all hell. They're like 5 kgs, all of them, which is
that's my concern. To get into the South Island, freight being hideous, and then obviously being a predominantly online store, freight being hideous to get them out from me as well. So that's why I'm on the fence with them. But they look really cool. Yeah.
You should just get some to play with yourself.
I've thought about that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was having a wee tinker around with thought patterns on the display tanks I'm setting up on that wall. I thought that, because I'm looking at doing a dwarf tank and Ekin tank, and I thought they'd probably go quite nicely in there if I go down that route.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect. Like I don't know what you're gonna do. Like if you do like Lupa or something, they got all these little like cracks that they like to wedge themselves into and like wind through. So like stuff like that'll be perfect.
Yeah, swaying towards either Lupai, Bracciati, or maybe Altos. Not too sure just
all of the above.
Yeah, but I can't put all of the above in the one tank.
Do all of them.
I can't put them
How big is the tank?
150 litres. One of the blue planets.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, so it'll be a species.
Oh, actually, I did know that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do the Bracciati in that tank. Is my advice.
Why not?
I think I don't massively like them in the tank that size. I prefer like it'll probably be fine, but like long term, especially I think you want a 4-foot tank really, because they just like even though they're physically not that big, they just take up so much space and to like even each other, like to just beat the crap out of each other. So I think a 4-foot is probably better long term for them.
Yeah.
Well, even because I did like when I first. Well, just ask Ryan. He knows better than me. In this tank here, I had maybe 8 Bracciati when I first put the Peacocks and Haps in, and it's like a 4-foot tank. And these Bracciati would just smack the crap out of like, there's like eye biters and stuff there that were getting beaten up by these little Bracciatis. So obviously that won't be a problem. You won't be mixing them, but.
Yeah.
I think they need more room. Otherwise, they're just a pain in the neck.
Brian, if and when you do manage to come to Nelson and you ask me for rainbow vomit stones in a pineapple house, I can actually probably help you because I have got a stack of rainbow gravel sitting at the back. I've got a stack of really hideous looking fake plastic plants as well because they all came with those splash tanks. So I've got about a dozen bags and about a dozen plants. So if you do ask me for some, I'm more than happy to accommodate you because then I'll be able to work out a way of getting rid of them. So you're welcome to have them if you want them.
Do you know I don't actually sell that stuff? Like, this is my gravels here. They're all actually, like, various natural-looking colors. Like, I don't actually do this. I'm not a fan of the rainbow gravel, but sometimes I get kids in who like it. And, hey, man. I don't. Seriously. That's, like, the one. Oh, I don't even think I have any in the retail tanks. Although I was thinking I'm going to do, like, a sunken Princess Castle vibe in one of the tanks just for something a bit different. Because I want to have variety, so that might make more sense.
That's totally fair. And, again, children are the future of this hobby. And so if you can get children really interested in keeping fish in whichever way it is, then so be it. But it's just not something that I'm overly keen on doing.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, you're the boss, you do you. And I think probably as well, we have different customer bases anyway. Like, being more of an in-person shop, a lot more like families and kids coming in. Whereas you're more, the more families and kids probably go to a physical shop rather than buy it online. Just because, you know, you want to actually, like, when you're a kid, you want to actually see it and everything.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Not saying that we don't have children and families coming in, but it's not a massive part of the people that come in as well. So yeah,
probably not as much for you as what. That's me.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm tucked away in an industrial area, and you know the foot traffic pretty much isn't there, and there's no, you know, it's very much destination. From my understanding of where you're at, you've got like a little township pretty much in that little area, and there's people around all day, every day, sort of thing. I'm the opposite of that. So
yeah, it's just like different spaces. Like, of course, into like the plant side of things, one to the African side of things, and then
of course,
everyone's got their different little things on and like specialized on or don't really do much of. So
yeah, for sure, absolutely. Got any new fishing this week?
Nah, not this week. Next week I will.
Right.
But
yeah,
actually, I'm getting pretty low on a lot of stuff. Got heaps of Africans in because Ryan brought some, like, maybe last week. Not a ton of anything super fair. A lot of, you know, the bread and butter type stuff.
Yeah. Totally agree, Shelley. Rodney is an industrial
How about
wasteland, and he's totally destination, and he's really, really cool stuff in there. I do absolutely agree with you. I got some discus in just earlier today.
I gotta go there one day. I've never actually been.
Rodney's?
Discus.
Have you been out of the North Island? Have you been out of Auckland before? It's a different world when you get past.
What? Like, I went to Christchurch once when I was like 14. I went to Christchurch once when I was like 14. Went to Wellington once, like, and I've been to Hamilton and Whangarei a lot, and that's about it. I'm not very well traveled.
Yeah. So you got some discus in today. Just some sort of smaller size ones. They're not too big. A friend of mine was breeding them, and he's just having a wee shuffle around. So he gave me them to sell for him. That's about the only fish that have come in. I've got some gold lasers that I think might be coming in tomorrow, from Gold Laser Corridors. So that'll increase the amount that we've got to about 50 or 60 available on hand in a couple of weeks' time once they're all gone through the quarantine. That's about it.
Is discus something that you reckon one day you'll get more into?
I don't know. Like, Yeah, I'm kind of in two minds with discus. I think I'm not a huge fan of retailing small discus. You see too often people having issues with them when they're small because they're not getting the attention and the love that they need. But then to sell them at big size discus,
and especially they start off with those little runty ones from the.
Yeah. So I'm kind of on the fence, and like to retail the big ones, they've got a decent price tag to them, and then I've got to send them around the place, which is a bit difficult as well. So I'm kind of on the fence, and again, don't have a large walk-in clientele for people to come into the shop and just be looking for some discus. Great, and I suspect if I got half a dozen different discus and didn't put them online available to be sold, they would sit here for over a year, sort of thing, because the walk-in clientele is quite small. So, yeah, I'm on the fence with them, and I have been on the fence with them for a long time.
How's your maintenance? I think there'd be there. Well, I know they're a really popular one for like offering or like reception areas and that.
I had one inquiry on it, and that's about as far as we got. The Christmas time kind of took its toll on me and my available stretchability, so it kind of just got pushed to the back burner with a couple other bits and pieces. So feels like next week we'll be back to normal as far as workload goes and not quite as intense. So I should be able to focus a little bit more on that as of next week.
Nice. Yeah, well, that's a marketable one. It is obviously a bit more involved in like water changes and like sell them better food and everything, but it is one that seems to be pretty popular. Like we've got a few clients who like absolutely love them and like give each one like a different name and know all their behaviors and everything like that, like the individual fish. So
yeah,
if you're wanting to do discus, a space to look at.
Yeah, I see merit in it. Like one of my, actually a friend of mine who works at a retirement home, they've got a tank in their retirement home, and you know, there's one guy that looks after all the feeding, and obviously maintenance team coming in and out, but you've got to look after all the feeding, and you know, they know the personalities like you're saying. So yeah, and Shelley's right. The Nelson water isn't so great for them, as it is pretty hard, and yeah, maybe Cam's obviously gone with the customer. So like the locally bred stuff might be a little bit different to imported stuff, but yeah, overall it's not that flash free here. So yeah, kind of on the fence when it comes to whether or not we stock discus. I think there is a more higher likelihood that we'll stock dwarf Tanganyikan cichlids as opposed to discus, but not ruling anything out. I'm just sort of on the fence when it comes to the discus. Yeah, so in my mind, there's a lot of discus that come into the country, into New Zealand, that aren't that flash. There's some absolutely stunning, beautiful ones that come in, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot that come in already pre-stunted, not quite looking right, looking healthy but not super healthy. And as a retailer, I can't see them before I buy them, so it's kind of hoping for the best, and that's where there's a little bit of an issue. But again, it's the same thing. If the wholesalers bring in bigger, healthy, vibrant, chunky-looking fish, they've got to charge more, which means we've got to charge more, and will they sit around for a bit longer than a sub-adult, if that kind of makes sense. So, yeah. Well, I think that makes for a relatively logical time to stop. It's now 10:30, so I've been cranking along for an hour and a half, so that's a good time. Excuse me. I've got a few things I need to do before I open up the shop, so it's probably a good time to disappear and let everyone be with their day. So thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't given us a review on either Facebook or Google, really appreciate it if you could. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Like I said, good makes me feel good. Bad, if it's constructive, gives me something to work on. So that's a good time as well. So, all right, team, I hope you have a really good weekend. Have a good one. Happy fish keeping. Catch you later.